I never imagined my life as a Tudor pig farmer would lead to shocking secrets and heartbreak. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows over the muddy field, and that familiar earthy smell filled my nostrils. I was knee-deep in muck, scrubbing at the pens, when I got the call. It was my sister, Emily. Tears dripped down her cheeks, her voice barely a whisper above the grunts of the pigs. "You need to come home now." My heart raced. Something was wrong. My fingers trembled, slick with grime, as I struggled to understand. Growing up on this farm was never easy, but the pigs were my escape. They were my quiet friends, always there, always real. But now, with Emily's voice echoing in my mind, dread settled in my stomach like a heavy stone. I loved the simplicity of the farm, the way the land felt alive beneath my hands. But something lurked just out of sight. A darkness stealing into our lives. I drove like a madman down the gravel roads, dust swirling behind me as I careened toward the family home. Memories of our childhood clung to me like stale hay. My brother, James, laughing as he ran after the animals, and the warmth of our parents' love wrapped around us like a heavy quilt. But that comfort was fading. Home was different now. The front door hung ajar, the house silent, too silent. I stepped inside, my heart pounding in my ears. The walls seemed to close in, filled with shadows hiding untold stories. I called out, but only silence answered. Then I found her. Emily sat on the floor, tears streaming down her cheeks, crumpled papers scattered around like fallen leaves. As I knelt beside her, my heart shattered. "What's happened?" I choked out. She took a deep breath. Her hands shook as she pointed to the papers. The news articles were screaming at me. Corruption in the agricultural sector. Farmers beneath a cloud of scandal. Every headline felt like a slap. It was our farm, our name in the dirt. "They're saying we're involved." Emily gasped, "We have to fight this." My pulse raced, anger boiling inside me. I knew my family. We poured our lives into this land. There was no scandal, but who would believe us? Then came the bombshell. They found something in the barn. My stomach knotted tight. "What do you mean?" I asked, dread overtaking me. She grabbed my arm, her eyes wide with panic. "Something they think is illegal." A chill swept through me. A sinking feeling gnawed at my insides. What could it be? I thought we were just farmers, tilling the earth, caring for our animals, not accomplices in some scandal. The world outside faded. The pigs grunted in the background, oblivious to the chaos unraveling in our lives. My mind raced, piecing together dangers lurking in every corner of my farm. Who could have set us up? I stood up, breath coming in ragged gasps. We weren't just fighting to clear our name now. We were fighting for our very survival. I needed answers, and I needed them fast. I turned to Emily. "We're going to find out the truth." She nodded, but her face was drawn with fear. I could feel the weight of that moment, the air thick with uncertainty. What lay hidden in that barn? What secrets had we unwittingly stumbled into? Hey! Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The days following that harrowing revelation blurred together, each one a relentless march through the emotional mire. Together, Emily and I pored over every inch of our farm, searching for answers, all the while trying to stay sane amidst the gathering storm. The once familiar landscape became a labyrinth of anxiety, each corner echoing with doubts that clawed at my resolve. I took my breakfast alone on the porch one morning, the mug steaming between my hands as I watched the sunrise spill its golden light over the field. But even the beauty was tainted, a reminder that nothing was as it seemed. My thoughts turned dark, spiraling into a pit of fear and anger. The papers, the accusations, they were poison seeping into our lives. Maybe we should call a lawyer, Emily suggested hesitantly one evening as we both leaned against the fading wood of the barn. Get some professional advice. But I couldn't bring myself to think about lawyers and courtrooms. Not yet. Felt like admitting defeat. Not yet, I replied, my voice firmer than I felt. We need to know what we're up against first. And so, I dove deep into the work, dragging Emily with me into countless hours of research and planning. We reached out to neighbors, hoping to uncover whispers of what had been happening behind the scenes. Some offered support, but others turned cold, eyes darting away as if they feared our family's shadow could taint them. 2.1 afternoon. After a long day that left me utterly exhausted, I took a chance and sought solace in the quiet conversations with the pigs. There was a particular glimmer in their eyes, a simple truth that felt grounding, drawing the chaos momentarily away from my heart. As I fed them, a rusty old lockbox captured my eye, half buried in the muck. It mirrored my feelings, a forgotten barrier to something buried deep beneath. With renewed energy, I dug it out. The box was heavy and old, half open, as if something had tried to escape its confines. I could hear Emily's footsteps approaching, but the crunch of gravel beneath her feet felt oddly distant. I pried it fully open, revealing a trove of dusty papers, some yellowed with age, others almost illegible. As I laid them out on the hay-strewn floor, a shiver ran down my spine. Did you find something? Emily's voice lingered between curiosity and fear. I shared the discovery with her, our eyes scanning the words that may hold the key to our family mystery. But just as the tension began to lift, the weight of dread descended again. They're talking about chemical shipments. I couldn't finish the sentence as the implications sunk in, heavy and suffocating. The earlier playful nature of the barn morphed into a crucible of secrets, one that felt easy to harbor but insidious in the truths it prompted. Suddenly, a loud bang echoed outside, pulling both our attentions away from the papers. My heart raced as I rushed toward the stall, only to stop short. A group of men stood by the gate, faces obscured by hooded jackets. They exuded an air of menace that suffocated the joyful sun melting over the landscape. "Who are you?" I shouted, my voice cracking as anger surged through me. They didn't respond. Instead, they exchanged glances and one stepped forward, revealing a flash of gold around his neck. It was a pendant with our farm's insignia. "Look closely," he barked, voice low and threatening. "You're in way over your heads." Before I could think, Emily grabbed my arm, her eyes wide with horror. "We need to go," she whispered, the urgency in her voice pulling me from the towering weight of confusion. And just like that, they melted into the shadows, leaving only a lingering tension in the air. A whisper of a threat echoing in my mind that sent a chill racing down my spine. As we stood frozen in the barn, the pieces of our lives began to scatter again. I turned to Emily, her face pale and fearful, yet I could see a flicker of resolution. "We can't let them intimidate us," she said, her voice steadier now. "We need to fight back." Yes, fight back. But how? Amidst the noise of uncertainty, doubt hovered like vultures, ready to descend. I needed to steer our family out of this chaos, to shield Emily and myself from the increasing menace surrounding us. The barn now felt like a fortress but also a cage. Outside, the sun was setting. The shadows grew longer, and in their depths, secrets seemed to blossom. "Let's get to the bottom of this," I said, renewed determination fueling my words. Yet even as resolve flooded my veins, the uncertainty twisted painfully in my gut. What more lay ahead in this twisted web of deceit? And who could I trust when shadows lingered everywhere, hiding answers, plotting tragedy? As we turned to leave, the lockbox now a complicated burden in my mind, I felt the weight of heavy footsteps echoed against the distance, a reminder that our battle was only just beginning. The weeks that followed were a blur of wakefulness tinged with paranoia. Each morning, as the sun painted the horizon with golden hues, I found it harder to shake the shadows that clung to my heart. Emily and I dedicated ourselves to uncovering the truth buried in that old box, with every scrap of paper revealing not only echoes of our family history, but the liabilities that decisions made long ago had cast upon us. One evening, we found ourselves poring over the papers late into the night, piecing together the names of people who had been involved with the land. Some were local, familiar faces with whom we shared community gatherings, while others were long gone, their legacies cast in anxiety. Each name felt heavy with implications, a thread weaving us deeper into a tapestry spun from lies and neglect. Just as I began to process the bleak reality of our situation, the doorbell rang, shattering the stillness. I exchanged a glance with Emily, her brow furrowed, a flicker of fear igniting in her eyes. It was late, and that in itself had me on alert. I stepped cautiously toward the door, the cool evening air sending a shiver down my spine. "Who is it?" I called out, trying to keep my voice steady. "Delivery." A voice answered, faint and muffled. With hesitation, I cracked the door open, peering into the dim light. Standing before me was a young man I'd never seen before, holding a box labeled with various stamps, a mix of return addresses none of which I recognized. "This came for you," he said, his eyes darting nervously around as if sensing ghosts. "Who sent it?" I replied. He shrugged, looking down. "Don't know. Just the courier." With a lingering distrust, I took the box and closed the door behind me. Emily was already scrutinizing it, running her fingers over the edges while I fumbled with the packaging. As the cardboard peeled away, an unusual assortment of old photographs and clippings spilled out, the faded ink of headlines shouting secrets I never dreamed existed. "What is this?" Emily breathed, her voice a mixture of excitement and fear. Among the images, black and white photographs of the farm from decades past, renderings of happy families on our land, and most unsettling, images of gatherings that spiraled into chaos during protests against chemical use. They captured vibrant gatherings turned sinister. Chaos etched in the faces of men and women holding signs that blurred their messages. Then, one image seized my attention, a group of familiar faces, including ours, taken during a town meeting. In the background was a man I'd never had the chance to meet. He stood with a smirk that felt unsettling and a glimmer of mischief in his eyes. The clip attached to it read, "Tudor Farm, Betrayal Among Friends." "What does this mean?" Emily whispered, her fingers tightening around the edge of the table as if the truth were about to slip away. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed sharply against the wood, slicing the tension. I fished it from my pocket, my heart thudding as I read the caller ID. It was a number I didn't recognize, but curiosity pulled me in. "Hello?" I answered, unable to keep the suspicion from my voice. "Sam?" A smooth, confident voice echoed from the other end. "You don't know me, but I know you and your family's history. It's time to face the past if you want to save your future." "Who is this?" My throat felt constricted, and I glanced at Emily. She was watching me, eyes wide, her hands slightly trembling. "The clock is ticking. There are forces at play, Sam. People who want to silence you." The connection cut off abruptly, leaving me with the overwhelming sense that the ground beneath us shifted yet again. "What just happened?" "Who was that?" Emily whispered, her voice barely a murmur, as though speaking any louder would invoke the darkness lingering outside. "That I don't know. But we need to be careful." A cold weight settled in my stomach. "They know who we are. They're watching." Panic gripped her features, but quickly gave way to resolve as she moved closer. "Then we'll uncover whatever it is they're hiding. Whatever is going on, we will figure it out together. But we need to be smart about it." I nodded, but as we gathered the papers and photographs, I felt reality slip further away, my mind swirling with implications that threatened to unravel everything I held dear. Before I could voice my concerns, a thundering knock rattled the door, a dread reverberating in my chest. "Stay back," I warned Emily, inching toward the door. "Who's there? Open up." A voice roared from the other side, demanding but tinged with desperation. I hesitated, wrestling with instincts. Could it be another threat, or perhaps a friend holding the key to our survival? But as I pulled the door open, the sudden visage stunned me. A face I never expected, a friend turned foe, a reflection of my own haunted expression. "Sam, we need to talk," said David, breathless, his demeanor chaotic. "It's worse than we thought. They're coming for you." As shadows encroached, the weight of the unknown closed in, And in that breathless moment, everything I had fought for felt unsteady, teetering on the edge of revelation and ruin. The air inside the house grew heavy with David's presence, his urgency seeping into the cracks of our fragile reality. I stood frozen for a moment, absorbing the dissonance between the man I once called a friend and the frantic stranger before me. Emily's hand slipped into mine, her grip tightening as if trying to anchor us in that moment, to shield us from what was about to unfurl. "Come in," I finally managed to say, stepping aside and letting him into our dimly lit living room. I studied his haggard features, shadowed eyes, dark circles, and the way his brow knitted together with panic. This wasn't the confident David I had known from our childhood. No, this was a man who had stumbled upon the dark underbelly of a community that thrived on secrets. David paced the room, refusing to sit, and I watched him, the energy between us shifting, interlaced with unspoken chapters of our past friendship and the burgeoning weight of betrayal. Emily stood close, her presence a soothing balm against the rising tide of anxiety. "They know we're digging into things," David began, avoiding my eyes, the tremor in his voice betraying the bravado he tried to maintain. "I had a few of my connections reach out. People are starting to notice that you and Emily are asking too many questions." "What do you mean?" I shot back, alarm mingling with anger. "You knew about this? You knew something was wrong?" I didn't want to believe it. He slammed the table with his fist, startling both of us. "But it's not just you. It's the farm. There's a darker history connected. They've silenced people before, Sam. People who thought they could expose the truth." His words settled like stones in my stomach. The shadows of doubt that had danced lightly in my mind now twirled violently, wrapping around my heart until I could hardly breathe. I had hoped I could protect Emily from the darkness, but here it was, more encompassing than I had anticipated. "David, we can't let them intimidate us," Emily asserted, her resolve radiating despite the anxiety braided with her words. "We need to understand what's really at stake here." "Understanding won't save you," he replied sharply. "It may not even be enough to prepare you for what's coming." "Then what do you suggest we do? Hide?" My voice cracked under the strain, confronting the bitterness in the room. "I don't know. But going through the history at Tudor Farm, it could get you hurt." Emily squeezed my hand, encouraging me to stay grounded. "We've come too far to turn back now. We have to find out what those photographs mean, and why that person in the background looks like he belongs in our past." David faltered, uncertainty rippling through his expression. Maybe he was reflecting on the darkness that lurked at every corner in our lives. A darkness he might have willingly ignored until it crashed into his reality. "If you guys are committed to this, you need to tread carefully. I can arrange for you to meet someone who can help." "Who?" I asked, skepticism threading into my tone. "A journalist. He used to report on the corruption surrounding agricultural practices and has his own grievances with the people involved. He knows the players in this game." The offer hung in the air, laden with hesitation. I glanced at Emily. Her eyes were filled with equal parts hope and uncertainty, and I understood her fear of taking risks, realizing that the more we delved into this abyss, the more perilous our situation became. "Fine," I said, steeling myself. "We need to find out what's at stake here. But it can't be reckless. We need a plan." As I spoke, a knock echoed from the back door, quick and sharp, slicing through the tension. I exchanged panicked glances with David and Emily. "That's probably more trouble," David said, his voice dropping to a whisper, the urgency pouring back into his words. "And whoever is there might not have good intentions." My heart raced, the earlier resolve mingling with dread. "Stay back," I repeated to Emily, my voice a low murmur as I edged toward the doorway. "We can't know." "Wait," David cut in. "If it's them." But it was too late. I flung the door open, fully, prepared to face whatever awaited us on the other side, my heart thundering against my ribs. Standing there was an elderly woman with deep-set eyes filled with fire and despair, a stranger, yet somehow familiar, like an echo of everything we had uncovered that night. "I am sorry to intrude," she began, her voice trembling, but then she steeled herself, her gaze locking onto mine with fierce clarity. "But I know who you're looking for, and I have something you need to see." An electric jolt shot through the air. a pulse of revelation that momentarily drowned out the chaos swirling in my mind. All at once, before the night could betray us further, hope flickered as a new twist unraveled before me, and I could not suppress the urge to take a step forward. "Who are you?" I asked, my voice betraying both hesitation and curiosity. "My name is Agnes Tudor," she declared, and with those words, the foundations of everything I had fought for began to tremble once more. Agnes Tudor's presence filled the doorway, a lifetime of stories compressed into a single moment. Her grip on the doorframe signified not just her frail form but also the weight of her family name. And in that instant, everything around us shifted. A fragile thread tugged taut. "That I need to talk to you," she urged, her voice low but firm. "There's much you don't understand." The rain began to patter against the roof, a soft symphony that juxtaposed the tension brewing between USA reminder of outside forces exerting their might. "Come in," I urged, stepping aside again to allow her into the home that felt increasingly like a fragile sanctuary. David and Emily hovered nearby, both filled with a mix of caution and interest. As Agnes settled into the worn armchair opposite, I noticed the way her hands trembled, fingers ringing together as if trying to hold on to something long lost. Her eyes, however, flickered with a fire that belied her age, a fierce will still alive within her. "I know what you've been searching for," Agnes began, her gaze now darting between us, searching for an anchor. "You're looking into the history of this land, and about the photographs. You've unearthed old ghosts." "Old ghosts?" I echoed, leaning forward. "What do you know about the photographs, about Tudor Farm?" "They are more than just remnants of the past. They are the key to understanding everything that happened, everything that continues to happen." Her voice betrayed the anguish of truth suppressed for decades. "We saw someone in those photographs, not just anyone." "It looked like my father," I confessed, glancing sideways at Emily, whose expression was now one of cautious hope mixed with confusion. Agnes' breath hitched slightly, a flicker of recognition crossing her face. "Your father, he was one of the good ones, Sam. He tried to help us, to help the family. We were deceived." Her voice broke, and I felt the heaviness of her loss seep into the air, the sorrow of betrayal etched deep in her features. "I don't understand. What did he help with?" My throat tightened, the words barely escaping past the lump that had formed, and my heart began to race. "The land has secrets," she whispered, her eyes burning into mine, "darker than you can imagine. When the farms began to commoditize their practices, your father stood against it. He uncovered what was going on, the pesticides causing illness, the underhanded deals made in shadows. He found things that could ruin lives, ruin families." Her fingers clutched the chair arm, nails digging into the fabric. "Some people don't want the truth out. They will do anything to keep it buried. Your father, he tried to protect us." Suddenly, the walls around me felt as though they were closing in. "What happened to him?" I breathed, realizing that every question I thought I could handle now swung like a pendulum over my head, threatening to signal the end of my already fragile understanding of our lives. "The last I saw of him, he was with my son. They were heading to the farm to meet me for important information that could change everything. But I was too late by the time I arrived. Everything had spiraled out of control. They vanished without a trace," Agnes said, the pain etched around her eyes breaking my heart anew. Emily stepped closer, bridging the emotional distance that had formed. "If he was there and if they were working together, maybe there's a connection to what's happening now." The realization washed over me. Could the secrets of our families intertwine, leading me to uncover the truth behind the veil of deception? "Agnes, we can't let this go," I said, emboldened by a flicker of resolution. "If there's anything that can lead us to them, we need to know. We can't be afraid if my father is still out there." "That's just it." Agnes' voice dropped to a whisper. "There are people watching. They know you've started digging again. They've marked you as threats not just to the farm, but to their entire way of life. We have to tread carefully." Just as she had instilled a fragile hope within me, a sudden crash came from outside, followed by a flash of light. I turned to the window, where darkness loomed over the fields, swirling like a tempest approaching. The night was no longer just heavy with rain but threatened by an unknown force, an impending storm that could unleash chaos. "Stay here," I ordered, urgency surging through me again. I felt the tethering of time slipping away. I need to see what that was. But as I stepped towards the door, the sound of a familiar voice cut through the chaos. A younger man's figure appeared in the rain, soaked to the bone, his face barely illuminated by the flickering streetlight. "Sam!" he shouted, urgency splattered across his features. The moment my eyes met his, a rush of recognition flooded my senses. Fear and confusion mingled as realization crashed over me like a wave. It was Jacob, Agnes' son, the boy from those photographs. But how was he here? And did he know the dangers that loomed behind him? "Jacob? What are you doing here?" I managed to ask, my voice filled with apprehension, wondering if he carried secrets or questions that could unravel everything we had fought for. "I need your help," he exclaimed, stepping closer as the storm raged around us, his voice barely rising above the howling winds. And just like that, the heart of darkness tightened its grip, tangling our fates. In that moment, with the storm closing in and Jake's eyes blazing with desperation, I realized that the truth we sought had drawn more than just shadows. It was calling upon the very essence of our past, demanding to be untangled, and the dangers would face us head-on. The rain poured down in sheets, cascading off the edges of the roof like silver ribbons, overwhelming the shrill gasp in my throat. Jacob stood at the threshold, his hair plastered against his forehead, eyes wide with an urgent plea that rippled through me. Behind him, thunder cracked, an ominous greeting from the heavens, stirring the air thick with tension. "Sam!" The intensity in his voice lunged at me, urging me to bridge the distance between our worlds that had been irrevocably altered. "I don't have much time. They're close." Who's close? Those words, tight in my throat, were barely a whisper, yet they threatened to unravel everything I thought I understood. I stepped outside the safety of my home, feeling the chill of the rain seep through my clothes as I moved towards Jacob, drawn to his urgency like a moth to a flame. "The people who want to keep your father's legacy buried. They're looking for answers too, and they know I've been talking to you." His words came out in fragments, each one delivering a blow. The cold puddles pooled around my feet, but it was his revelation that froze my heart. "Jacob, we need to get you inside," I hissed, glancing over my shoulder instinctively. There was a darkness growing on the horizon, an encroaching fear that crept ever closer. "No." He shook his head, the rain sluicing down his cheeks. "We don't have that luxury. I overheard them. I heard them planning to take more drastic measures, and I came to warn you. They think you know too much already. They're going to stop you, Sam." Panic pricked at the edges of my mind, unraveling the fragile thread of hope that Agnes had woven through our conversations. "But we can't back down, Jacob. I need to find out what happened to my father, what they're hiding." His gaze turned grave, steel cutting through his fear like a knife. "Then we need to act fast. There are hidden places in the old barn, spots they wouldn't consider looking. But you have to trust me, Sam. We may find the truth there, but we might also set off a chain reaction." The notion of hidden places made my heart race. What were we walking into? What if this was the beginning of something that could tear apart everything I had known? "Then let's do it. We can't let them win." My voice bore resolve as I accustomed myself to the rushing adrenaline surging through my veins. His expression softened, the ghost of a smile tugging at his lips. "I knew you'd be brave enough, but I don't want to see you hurt. You're not just a Tudor to me. You're family, whether you understand that or not." A warmth flickered inside me, the knowledge that even in darkness, the ties of kinship could shine light into the overcast. "Family," I murmured, the word wrapping around my thoughts like a comforting embrace. But before I could delve deeper into that sentiment, a loud crash echoed from the direction of the barn, a guttural roar of "with splintering time to go." I shouted, the adrenaline pulsing again as I turned to lead the way back inside, grabbing Jacob's hand firmly, as if his presence could anchor me in this storm of uncertainty. As we darted up the porch steps, a figure suddenly emerged from the shadows, a familiar face marred by the downpour. "David," I gasped, breathless as he stepped into the weak glow of the porch light, confusion marring his features. There you are, he stated, voice tight and strained, his eyes sweeping over Jacob and then fixing on me. You need to get inside. Now, it's not safe out here. David, we need to go to the barn, I insisted, searching his eyes for understanding. He was suddenly engulfed in the same fears swirling around Jacob and me, yet his expression hardened at an "oh," he said firmly. This is bigger than you think. You have no idea who you're dealing with. Anger flared within me, and I shook my head in frustration. You don't understand. They're threatening everything we've worked for, everything we are. Before David could respond, a jarring sound echoed from the barn again. The unmistakable crunch of footsteps on gravel, heavy, intentional. My heart froze as dread washed over me. I had no idea what was coming, but I felt it deep down. The illusion of safety was shattering. Sam, Jacob urged, tugging at my arm, pulling me back toward the house. We can't face them here. We need to go. And as I glanced one last time back at the barn, something flickered across the dim light, illuminating its Framea shadow lurking, holding secrets I had only just begun to grasp. Suddenly, the door swung open wider, revealing the figure stepping through, its silhouette dark and imposing. I recognized that shape, the way it stood, everything colliding within the storm that drenched my hopes. Samuel. The voice spoke, low and haunting, sending chills down my spine the moment I heard it. My breath caught in my throat, paralyzing me as fear rushed over me like the rain spilling all around. Dad? I whispered without a thought, scarcely believing the words that escaped me. But in the twisted depths of the storm, the fear mingled with a flicker of hope. What if he had found us against all odds? What had this tempest unearthed? Would he bring answers? Or was this an omen of deeper secrets lurking just beneath the surface? The wind howled through the trees, weaving its way into my mind, blurring the lines between hope and panic. I stood frozen, staring at the shadow that had materialized on the threshold of the Barnmy father's unmistakable form, but somehow different. The rain, fierce and relentless, felt like a veil between us, each drop echoing my disbelief. Sam. His voice was heavy, laden with an authority I hadn't heard in years, yet it cracked at the edges, revealing the strain of a long-forgotten burden. You shouldn't be here. Dad? My voice trembled, thick with confusion. Is it really you? He stepped forward, and the shadow shifted to reveal his face, lined with exhaustion and burdened with secrets. I felt the yoke of time settle upon us, the years lost to silence. The whispers exchanged in the depths of night now formed a tumultuous wave crashing against the shores of my heart. Jacob's grip on my arm tightened. This isn't right, Sam. He shouldn't have come here. We need to go. But I couldn't move. Every part of me was anchored to the spot, held captive by the moment. No, I need to hear him. My voice rose above the rushing rain, an unexpected defiance, an exertion of control against the chaos. On my father's face was a mix of anguish and warmth. His eyes flickered with memories both haunting and dear. You've grown, Sam, he murmured, and in that instant, the world around us faded, leaving only the echo of a familiar embrace I had yearned for in the darkest nights of my childhood. But you've been gone. I thought. I ran my fingers through the rain-slicked strands of my hair, searching for words that failed to solidify. I thought you left us. His brow furrowed, and the weight of his expression told me there was much more hidden beneath the surface. I didn't choose to leave you. David, still hovering protectively at the edge of the porch, interjected. Sam, this is dangerous. He's not who you think he is. Enough! My voice rang out, staunchly against the disapproving curls of the storm, my gaze fixing on my father, whose presence had turned from a beacon of light to a specter of complex shadows. I deserved to know. You owe me that. The silence that followed felt apocalyptic, the rain drumming a relentless rhythm as we stood caught in time. My father's eyes darted to the barn behind him, a flicker of worry tracing his features, burdening the moment with an inexplicable weight. You need to understand, he began, his voice low, cracking under the strain like branches in a tempest. The legacy I left behind is fraught with dangers you can't begin to comprehend. The people looking for you, they want what lies hidden. It's not just about your father, Sam. It's about power. Then tell me, I pleaded, impatience mingling with fear. If you truly care, if you love, meddle me why they want to silence us. Tell me what they're hiding, or that I'm not brave enough to face whatever it is. With a sudden determination. His jaw clenched, compressing years of unsaid words, yet he held me captive with his gaze. Those things buried within the barn. He swallowed hard, fighting back emotions. The truth about our family is interwoven with a darkness you're not ready to face. Fear ignited within me, mingling with an unexpected surge of courage. I conjured the faces of Agnes and the fleeting flickers of kindness from the kindnesses offered by strangers. I had fortitude worth summoning. I can face it. I need to. You don't get to bury our past without me. But just as determination surged like a wildfire, an ominous roar of thunder split the skies above us, and the air filled with an otherworldly charge. The barn trembled as if echoing to life, the atmosphere thickening with ancient whispers concealed within its walls. My father's expression shifted from concern to alarm. No, it's too late. They're coming for you. In a frantic motion, I looked back at Jacob and David. Confusion etched on their faces, fear dancing in their eyes. What do you mean, coming for me? Just as the last word fell from my lips, figures cloaked in dark shapes emerged from the trees bordering the property. Their faces unreadable, yet their intent was clear, a threatened resolve to snuff out our light. Run! David shouted, urgency coating his voice like desperation. But my feet felt heavy, rooted in place with an overwhelming surge of emotion, a mix of hope, sorrow, and dread colliding like shadows battling for freedom. Clarity flickered as my father took a step closer, pulling me into the swirling storm of tenebrous choices. Go, Sam. Don't look back. His eyes glistened with a depth of understanding, mingling fear with something else, something unspoken that I could barely grasp. With a gust of wind howling around us, reality distorted as I grabbed Jacob's hand tightly, feeling his warmth merging with the fear thrumming in the chaos. We can't leave you. But my father's voice was fierce, almost pleading. You have to. If they find you herein a single heartbeat, everything shattered. The truth about the darkness within the barn, the specters of choices that surrounded us, the cavernous gulf of family secrets peeled back layers of dread while the storm swirled on, leaving us with one cruel certainty: we might be running from the truth, but the shadows would always find a way to surface. And just as we turned to flee, I felt a shift within me, as though the storm had unearthed a seed of strength alongside the terror. Maybe I wasn't just running away, I was also running toward something yet unknown. But as the encroaching darkness enveloped our escape, I couldn't shake the idea that the battle was only just beginning. And as echoes of my father's desperate warning faded, the true weight of legacies past pressed upon me, threatening to unravel everything we had fought to protect. The shattered remnants of the storm clung to us as we fled into the embrace of the woods, the cold air biting at our skin and the urgency of our flight driving us onward. My heart pounded in rhythm with my footsteps, a wild drum that matched the chaos swirling in my mind. The gravity of my father's words, draped in warnings and unspoken truths, lingered in the damp bite of the night as we plunged deeper into the shadows of the trees. Jacob squeezed my hand tighter, and I could feel the tremor in his grip, a reassurance I had not known I needed. David moved alongside us, his breathing strained, a man caught between frustration and fear. We have to keep going, he urged, glancing over his shoulder, more worried about the dark figures than what lay ahead. What did he mean, Sam? Jacob asked, his voice barely a whisper. There was a tenderness in his gaze that broke through the adrenaline. What truth is buried in that barn? I shook my head, trying to piece together the fragments of my father's warning and the weight of everything I had ever felt, abandoned by a past riddled with secrets that I was desperate to unravel. I don't know, I replied, my words heavy with confusion. But there has to be something worth all of this. David shot us a look of impatience, pushing through the underbrush. Let's not dwell on that now. We need to find a place to hide until the morning. We'll regroup. Then we figure out our next steps. A flicker of resolve sparked within me at his assertion. I couldn't ignore the urgency of our predicament even if my heart longed to grasp the answers. What if they come for us tonight? The thought rattled in my mind like thunder on the horizon. They won't find us. Not if we stick together, David insisted, though the uncertainty clung to his every word that as we stumbled through the thicket, the world around us felt swallowed by darkness. The once faithful woods now an unknown labyrinth. I could feel the universe pressing on me, swarming with voices and shadows. It gnawed away at the corners of my psyche, the forgotten memories I had once buried deep resurfacing off my father's absence, of whispered conversations between my mother and Agnes, of a family torn apart by silence. The canopy thinned ahead, and we emerged into a small clearing bathed in moonlight, a sanctuary against the night. Barks of branches broke beneath our feet, and as we caught our breath, I could hear the wind weaving through the trees, a soft sigh echoing tales of resilience. "Well, rest here for a moment," David said, finally lowering himself to the ground. Jacob and I settled beside him, my heart racing as I gazed up at the dark sky. I had always marveled at the stars, but right now, they felt like judgmental eyes, witnessing our every move, our fear, our grief. "I can't believe he's back," I murmured, still reeling from the encounter. "Dad, he was gone for so long. It wasn't your fault," Jacob whispered, his eyes earnest and comforting. "You were just a kid. You were never meant to carry that burden, I replied, an unexpected anger swelling within me. "But I am now. I need to know what he meant, the legacy of our family, whatever dark thing is hidden in that barn. I can't run forever." David opened his mouth to respond, but then silence enveloped us, a quietness that felt both profound and unsettling. It stretched between us like a silk thread, fragile and taut. I could feel the burden of unsaid words hanging in the air, an unacknowledged tension that pressed against the edges of our companionship. "Sam," David finally ventured, his voice softer, "you should remember what we came here to do. This isn't just about your father. It's about you and the choices you make moving forward." I turned to him, the weight of his gaze piercing through my mind fogged with reservations. "But what if the choices I make destroy everything I love?" "You won't know unless you face it," Jacob said, gently encouraging me. "You're stronger than you realize. Honestly, I've always believed in you. We've got your back, whatever comes." Their faith anchored me, but doubt still gnawed at my core. In the distance, the low growl of thunder rumbled, a reminder of the storm still brewing above. The horizon pulsed with an energy that felt ominous, like the calm before a tempest of our own making. As we prepared to regroup and form a plan, an unexpected crackle of light shimmered in the shadows, a flickering ember lighting the darkness. I strained my eyes to grasp its origin, instinctively crossing my arms as if drawing a shield around my vulnerability. Then, without warning, a sudden movement startled me from my thoughts, a shadow darting between trees, and a voice, soft yet penetrating, called out to us. "You don't understand, Sam. You need to come with me." Heart racing, I turned toward the sound, locking onto a figure stepping cautiously into the clearing. The glimmering light followed in her wake, illuminating a mischievous smile that both intrigued and terrified me. It was Agnes, her presence radiating warmth like a shroud of hope amongst the cold chill. "Agnes?" I breathed, disbelief tightening my chest. "What are you doing here? We're in danger." She brushed her wet hair from her face, eyes sparkling with an urgency only I recognized from our apple-picking days, battles fought over trivialities, and laughter echoing in the orchard. "I know everyone's in danger, but you're not safe here. Not anymore. You were meant to uncover the truth. But there are things you must know first." A sudden realization crashed over me. The truth? The weight of her words hung heavy in the air. "What do you know?" "More than I should." A flicker of shame passed over her face, a moment of hesitation that felt like the turning of a tide. "And I'm sorry, Sam. I wish I could have protected you." With the storm rumbling beyond, a kaleidoscope of emotions swirled within me, and tension cracked like thunder. I glanced back at Jacob and David, confusion knitting our brows together, the quiet woods behind us echoing with uncertainty. While questions spiraled in my mind, I grasped onto Agnes' hand, a tether amidst the darkness. Whatever revelations lay ahead, intertwined with risks and choices, it felt like the only path left to traverse. But just as hope ignited within me, Shards of warning loomed, and the shadows thickened around us, threatening to close in. As Agnes looked over her shoulder, fear mirrored in her eyes. Her grip tightened, and she whispered, "We need to go now before they find us." Knowing fragments of truths awaited us on the other side of that threshold, I took a breath, steeling my resolve, wondering if the answers would bring salvation or more heartache. The path felt treacherous, layered with unresolved legacies of our family, and I had no choice but to push forward. Time stood still in that clearing, teetering on a precipice of fate. And while I looked into the depths of the shadows, an echo rippled through me, revealing a sobering fact. The legacy buried in the barn was only just a sliver of the secrets that bled through our bloodline. Until we found a way to confront them, the family ties connecting us only threatened to unravel everything we thought we knew. The air was thick with an impending storm. Each breath I took a mix of exhilaration and dread as Agnes pulled us deeper into the woods. The soft glow of her light flickered like a heartbeat, illuminating the path ahead while casting the surrounding darkness into sharper relief. Shadows danced and whispered as if they were aware of our secrets, taunting me to think of what lay behind and what awaited us ahead. "Agnes, why are you here?" I pressed, urgency tinging my voice. "What do you know that we don't? Why didn't you tell me sooner?" Each question latched onto the next, an anxious thread binding my need for answers. "I didn't know how," she admitted, glancing over her shoulder as though the trees themselves were listening intently. "Your father, he left the barn for a reason. It was meant to stay buried. But there's danger ahead, and you need to understand everything before it consumes you." David moved closer, an edge of protectiveness surfacing in his demeanor. "We can handle the truth, Agnes. Just tell us what we need to know." There was strength in his voice, but beneath it lay an unyielding fear, the specters of our past resurfacing like storm clouds. Agnes halted, allowing her glow to flit softly across her face, and for a moment, I saw the familiar warmth I once cherished during carefree summer days, mixed with the shadows of regret that marked this reunion. "Your family has been keeping secrets for generations, Sam. I wish I could tell you it's all innocuous, but it's more complicated. Your lineage is steeped in darkness." The words lodged in my chest like a stone, heavy and unyielding. "Darkness? What do you mean?" I pushed, craving clarity amidst the chaos of swirling emotions. She took a deep breath and glanced at Jacob, then at David. "There are rituals, things practiced in secrecy. I thought it was folklore when I was young, just stories that your father and my family would spin around the fire. But as I got older, I realized some of it is true. The barn holds remnants of our lineage, the power of our families entwined, but also the burden. Something was awakened when your father returned. A chill shot through me. The barn, the secrets, the peril lurking just beyond our escape, yet intertwined us in ways I hadn't begun to fathom. You're saying it's not just about my father? It's our families? I felt the gravity of the revelation pulling me down a path of despair. "Yes," Agnes said, her voice low, almost grave. "The power is in you, Sam. It's the reason why they came back. The truth has rippled far beyond what any of us anticipated." A silence fell over us, heavy with implications. "What the hell does that even mean?" David's incredulity broke the moment, echoing my own frustration. "It means," she replied, "that the choices you make from here on out could change everything. They've been seeking someone to take hold of that power, reclaim it, or destroy it." The weight of her words pressed against me, spiraling into my thoughts like tendrils of ivy suffocating a once vibrant tree. There was nothing innocent lying in our past, nothing untainted. I had been running headlong into a legacy that filled me with dread. Yet a part of me felt the resonance, the adrenaline coursing through my veins, answering the challenge to confront it. But Jacob interjected, clearly shaken. "What if it's dangerous? What if it kills you?" Agnes met his gaze with earnestness. "Could. But it's not just Sam's fate on the line. It's all of ours. The storm isn't just the wind and rain. It's a reckoning." I felt my heart sink further. "Reckoning," I echoed, the word foreign yet oddly familiar. "What if we don't want it?" "Sometimes, you don't get to choose," she said, her voice firm yet laced with compassion. "You must face it, Sam." I believe you can understand it better than anyone. But you have to trust me. An uneasy tension settled around us, but I could see the determination in Jacob's eyes and the quiet understanding growing in David's. We were bound together by something larger than ourselves. The burden of our family's secrets pressed against us yet somehow offered a glimmer of unity amidst the fear. A crack of thunder shook the air. The wind howled through the leaves, creating a chorus of warning. And before I could digest the gravity of Agnes's words, a new presence disturbed the shadows wrapping around our sanctuary. From the depths of darkness, a shadow Emergita figure cloaked in mystery, moving silently as a whisper. My pulse quickened, heart hammering in my chest as recognition brushed against my consciousness. Sam. The figure seemed to call out, voice smothered by the chill of night. In an instant, nostalgia washed over me, blending with panic. Is it? My breath caught in my throat, memory colliding with reality, vision clouding as dread clawed at me. It's your mother, Agnes finished, her voice trembling with uncertainty and disbelief. I turned towards the figure emerging slowly from the woods, its face shrouded in shadows that felt eerily familiar yet exotic in their obscurity. My mind raced with possibilities and fear of wanting to embrace her, of fearing who she was and what she had left behind. As I took a step forward, the world around me blurred, emotions spilling into chaos of trepidation that eclipsed everything I thought I understood. Mom, is it really you? I asked, my voice thick, conflict coursing through every word as I grasped onto a piece of hope docked precariously in a sea of uncertainty. Yet as she stepped forward into the moonlight, the cold realization brushed against my heart, igniting a swell of fear. It was true she was here, but with her presence came the weight of unanswered questions and unsettling revelations that could unravel everything we believed in. Sam. Her voice trembled with urgency, a plea that sent chills racing through me. You need to come back home. They're coming for you. The path ahead had transformed into a tangle of choices riddled with secrets, shadows, and a legacy I never imagined confronting. And as thunder echoed ominously overhead, it became abundantly clear that whatever awaited us in the storm would reveal more than I could ever begin to anticipate. Clarity eluded me, but one truth remained: there was no turning back. The dark heart of my family's legacy was awakening, and we were caught in its vicious pull, destined to uncover its terrifying secrets. The storm raged around us, a cacophony of rain lashing against the forest, but at that moment, everything faded except my mother's voice. Her presence felt both familiar and foreign, a tethering that pulled me back into a past I thought long buried. My heart ached with longing and resentment as she stepped further into the clearing, the soft glow of Agnes' light revealing the lines etched by years of worry and regret on her face. Mom, I whispered, disbelief still weaving through my thoughts. You left, we thought you were gone. Jacob's grip tightened around my wrist as tension coiled in the air, a delicate string about to snap. What do you mean, they're coming for you? Who are they? Sam. Her voice trembled with urgency, eyes darting between Jacob, David, and me, scanning our expressions as if searching for the remnants of the children she once knew. I had to protect you. I thought I could shield you from the truth. But now you're all in danger. Our past is catching up with us, and it won't rest until it gets what it wants. Agnes stepped forward, her earlier certainty shifting to uncertainty. Your mother, she knows more about what lies in the barn than any of us. We need to hear her story. My chest tightened at Agnes's words, hovering on the precipice of decisions that birthed both fear and curiosity. What's in the barn, Mom? Why is it so important? She hesitated, the flickering light casting shadows across her face, mirroring the turmoil inside her. The barn holds the legacy of our family, both the power to heal and the chaos that can destroy. Your father was trying to protect it and attempting to protect you, but he was pulled into something too deep, things left unexplained that shaped our family's legacy in ways you can't begin to fathom. A rush of emotions clawed at my insides. Anger at the secrets that had spun my life into chaos, fear for the dangers threatening those I loved, and a desperate need for clarity. For years, you left us with nothing. We were alone. I couldn't suppress the bitterness from cascading through my voice. Why didn't you tell me? Her eyes glistened, and I saw the weight of her choices reflected back. Sam, I was scared. I buried my past hoping it would protect you, but it only sowed the seeds of doubt and danger. When I saw your father return, I knew that the darkness wouldn't stay concealed for long. He reignited old flames, and it became our family's secret burden. With every word, I felt the depth of her pain, realizing that the pieces of our lives had unknowingly fit together, a twisted puzzle trapped between love and fear. But all we wanted was the truth, I said, my voice softer now, vulnerability creeping in. Can we face it together? She stepped closer, the shadows fading slightly around us. That's why I'm here, to help you confront what was done. History cannot be rewritten, but its grip on the present can be broken. The legacy isn't solely our transgression. It can also be our salvation, but you must be prepared for the cost. As another flash of lightning illuminated the dark sky, I could feel the weight of our family's legacy pressing down, a powerful current seeking to sweep us away. The storm isn't just outside, is it? I asked, glancing around at the darkness enveloping us. It's within us. It's a reckoning. Jacob and David exchanged anxious glances, fear manifesting in the lowered inclinations of their heads. Let's not forget, David warned, dipping his voice low, that others are still searching to keep truths buried. We don't have time, we need to move. Where? I demanded, my heart racing. How do we move on from this? I won't leave without knowing the full story. Then follow me, Agnes said, her tone laden with newfound determination. If anyone knows how to find the hidden corners of that barn, it's us. But we must stay vigilant. We've attracted attention, and it will only escalate from here. With one last look at my mother, her torn gaze revealing the mother who had fought battles I could only imagine, I took a step forward, a hesitant willingness threading through my mind, urging me to trust deeply in this chaotic convergence of family. Okay, I said, swallowing my fear. Let's finish what we started. I'll face whatever lies within it. As we turned to make our way back towards the barn, I could feel the storm of emotions swirling around us. I didn't know if we would become victims or warriors of fate, but my heart thrummed with a resilience I hadn't known I possessed. The shadows thickened and pushed in, whispering reminders of our buried legacy. Each step felt like an echo in a cavern of memories threaded with pain, love, and betrayal. And just as we reached the barn's entrance, the shadows surged forward with a violent gust that stole my breath away. The swirling tempest had unleashed its fury, the past was colliding with the present, and together, we would have to face the storm of our family's legacy. As we stepped inside, the air thick with tension, a realization settled deep within me. We were not merely facing the truth of secrets hidden, we were reclaiming our family's story and charting our course through the uncertain waters of recollections that could redefine everything that I in that dim, storm-tinged twilight, as we stood together inside the old barn, preparing to uncover what had long remained concealed. I held onto a single belief. It was here, amidst the shadows, that we would finally lay bare the truths that had shaped us, and perhaps, in this dark sanctuary, we could find not just answers but the strength to embrace whatever came next. And as we illuminated the path in front of us with flickering hope, something whispered deep within me. Together, we could weather this storm even if it meant facing the darkest truths hidden in the corners of our legacy. Whatever happens next, I said, feeling the strength of our combined resolve, we'll face it together. I won't back down. And just like that, the darkness around us trembled, heralding the beginning of our true reckoning, a journey through secrets that would shape us into who we were destined to become, bonds forged amidst the chaos. Together, we were ready to transform the storm into our greatest strength. For in the heart of shadows lies the power to ignite light, and we were determined to shine through the darkness.